All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Integrative Wellness and Development Podcast. I am your host, Mike DeLuca, and very grateful that you're here tonight. We have some folks coming in on Zoom. We have folks already in the Zoom audience. We are also live on Facebook now. So we have folks who will be joining us, and everyone who is joining us, wherever you're joining us, you will be able to ask questions when we get to that point. So let me just confirm here about our folks joining us on Facebook. And we are streaming live. Great. All right. So let's get started. Uh, I have to start every podcast, and especially podcasts when we start talking about nutrition, functional medicine, holistic medicine. We always have to start with a little description of what things are and what they're not. First of all, this podcast is the podcast completely and totally owned by Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. We are not affiliated with any other group, any other discipline, any other company. This is strictly for the education, entertainment, and enlightenment of the folks who join us each month to learn from the great guests that we have. That's my whole purpose for having it. It's very selfish. I'm insatiable in my appetite for knowledge and for information, and my desire to share that with the people I know and love, which is you out there. And so tonight we have a very important topic. We've had a number of guests from time to time talking about nutrition and functional nutrition, metabolic balance, a number of different topics. But the focus tonight is extremely important. And before I go into that detail, I have to say that everything you're going to hear tonight is educational. We are not going to make any claims that what you hear tonight is going to diagnose, cure, prevent any specific illness, condition. What we recommend is if you are experiencing any condition that is physical, that is emotional, that is mental, that you consult a professional that you know and trust, that you can work with. This show is not meant to do that. We're not meant to treat, prevent, cure. We're meant to educate, right? So have to make that really, really clear. So we've got the legal things out of the way. And what I want to do is I want to share with you my screen to go into a little bit of introduction. So tonight's program, we are going to be speaking about functional nutrition and its effects on our mental and emotional well-being. And we have a wonderful guest tonight, Olga Grass. And let me tell you a little bit about Olga. And I'm going to make the little buttons click here. Olga is a certified nutritional practitioner, a registered nutritional therapist, and a health coach. She practices holistic integrative nutrition. She's been doing that with over 10 years of experience and thousands of satisfied clients. Okay, she's not someone who just read a book and decided to come on my podcast. Through her private practice, Happy Nutrition, Olga has spent over 10 years guiding thousands of clients towards better health by healing the gut. We're going to talk more about this, improving digestion, balancing hormones, reducing inflammation, and managing stress. Her approach integrates individualized nutrition plans, targeted supplementation, and transformative lifestyle changes to restore well-being naturally. Now, her journey into nutrition, functional nutrition, natural health, began after one of her own children was diagnosed with ADHD and Asperger's. There are a lot of people who are going to be watching this podcast over the next few weeks who have similar experiences, either directly with themselves and their own families, or you can reach out your arm out a window and touch somebody who knows somebody or has a family member experiencing this. I did. Olga pursued extensive studies in holistic healing because of she was unsatisfied with conventional medicine's pharmaceutical approach. She's not alone in that area. She holds multiple diplomas and certifications from renowned institutions worldwide, including the Institute of Holistic Nutrition, Harvard Medical School, and the Edison Institute of Nutrition, amongst others. So, that's a real quick bio. It kind of lets you know that she has some really impressive experience and she has an impressive background. But I think probably what hit me most is she's extremely motivated because of the experiences she's had with her family and clients. And also, Olga has herself experienced the effects of what stress and anxiety can do to the body and how nutritionally it can affect us, and also how nutritionally we can actually assist our bodies in dealing with that. And she's going to talk a little bit about that. So, first and foremost, Olga, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Been really looking forward to this interview, and welcome to our Integrative Wellness and Development family. You are now part of our family, and people will be watching you day after day, week after week on our Facebook and then on our YouTube channel. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's actually an honor, and I mean it because you're right. I'm so passionate about this particular topic that I really, truly appreciate the opportunity to raise awareness of these life-saving tools that people can use every day to become healthier and hopefully happier. Because I always say that mental and cognitive health, this is actually requires a total body health. Okay, you cannot be totally uh, happy and cognitively optimally functioning if major systems in your body are not functioning properly and in sync. And this is why I found that not only mental health is an important topic by itself, but in the process of guiding people to achieving their stability, their happiness, they actually become healthier on the way there. And I think that's a very empowering message that you're going to hear about. And I have developed a certain step-by-step program that would possibly help you get healthier and happier. And thank you for the opportunity to share this with your family and friends.
Great. And we're going to talk about two things. First, we're going to talk about the effects of nutrition on our mental and cognitive health. Then we're going to move into the emotional health. And then we're going to talk about the fact that you offer assistance to people not only through your practice, one-on-one, individual help, but as an adjunct to that and support of that, you also have a pretty impressive online course selection that they can, study on their own and educate themselves and arm themselves. So, I mentioned in my Facebook post, we're all pretty much aware that what we put into our bodies or what we're not putting into our bodies that we're supposed to put into our bodies affects our physical health, right? It affects our heart and our organs and our lungs and all of that good stuff. But we're still in a place where when it comes to how things affect our brain and cognition, um, that immediately, the first thing people look at is a doctor will say, oh, okay, we'll try this medication, or we'll try that medication, or we'll give you this medication to counteract the effects of that medication. I watch these commercials on TV. And we've proven to be successful in dealing with this situation, but it's going to cause your ears to fall off. It's going to cause suicidal tendencies. It could cause you to lose your balance. Don't operate heavy machinery in your sleep or, when you're awake, and, on and on and on about stuff that you put into the body that is not really what the body was designed to work with. So could we start with just generally, how does nutrition that we take in affect our brain, right? Affect our mental and cognitive state? I think that's a little good place to start because our brain also affects our emotions, and I want to get to emotions second. So can we start with that?
For sure, 100%. And I agree with you that our society is so much uh, about medication, a quick pill that will resolve all the symptoms, that it's not even funny. Even with people that I work with, there's this tendency, give me a supplement to fix something, right? We have to realize, healing, it's a process and there's no magic pill for any of that. And this is why when my child was diagnosed with ADHD and Asperger's, I literally didn't think it was a deficiency in Ritalin. As I figure out later, yeah, it was no, probably not probably, but it was imbalance in his blood sugar levels. It was inadequate nutrition in terms of protein and fat intake, and all of this stuff. When fixed, a lot of symptoms can just magically go away without the need for medication. Yeah, so like your depression is not a Prozac deficiency. You have to figure out what it is that might be causing it. And again, what I'm going to be talking about, it doesn't mean that everything applies to everybody. However, the more of these potential root causes you can examine for yourself and address and rule out, the better you will be positioned at finding what it is that might be causing symptoms that look like depression, look like ADHD, look like that poor memory and declining cognition. And then, of course, there will be some people who might need medication after all, but again, that should never be your first resort. You should really do everything you can to address your body's and your brain's basic needs through nutrition and lifestyle. And then, only then, if, for some reason you do have some genetics or whatnot, then you might need medication. So I'm not 100% anti-medication, but I'm totally
Oh,
appalled by the idea that medication comes first. It should be the absolute last resort. Okay. So now just going back to your question, how on a very general level, nutrition affects brain, well, the nervous system, right? Because we don't have really two brains. We have one brain that's responsible for your uh, cognition, right? And for your really mental health. So everything we're going to be talking about will be influencing both, because the brain, if you think about it, it's a high energy organ that uses nutrients to produce neurotransmitters, regulate mood, form memories, maintain focus. And it depends on a very steady supply of oxygen, glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, minerals in order to generate that energy, right? And so the cells in the brain can communicate efficiently. And then when we get things like inflammation, blood sugar swings, nutrient deficiencies, poor sleep, they can all disrupt these processes, right? I can hear some echo here. So then, yeah, so both mood and thinking can really suffer. So nutrition really provides those building blocks for brain chemicals. It supports your gut-brain connection that we're going to talk about. It helps you regulate your hormones, decrease inflammation or increase inflammation depending on your nutrition, right? And all of this will influence your mental and cognitive health. So basically, when your brain is properly nourished, and I'm mean nourished by not just food, it can be water, it can be even the other inputs you give to your brain, because very important to me, nutrition is not just it's all the data, all the input that you give your body, right? So then you will reach stability and energy. It needs to support your clear thinking, emotional balance, resilience, and so forth.
okay. Could you give us an idea of what some of the key nutrients are that we should be getting in our diets that go directly to the proper functioning of a healthy brain? Could you talk a little bit about what are some of the major things we should make sure that is coming into our system?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I can just very quickly share my screen, and I have tons of slides from my academy, but I'm just gonna try to be not overuse them. So this is a very basic slide. Sorry, okay. Hold on 1 second. Can you guys, sorry, can you see my screen or not?
No, you need to click on it again.
I'm sorry. Okay, let me try again.
Share screen,
Yeah, okay, sorry.
and then double click.
I'm sharing the screen on another laptop. That's what it says. Okay. What do you guys see?
Now it just says double click to enter full screen mode. Um,
Um,
yeah, let me see here.
I don't know why it's not letting me in, but
Here, close it and try again.
okay.
Yeah, try it again.
I don't know if you can see anything.
No, are you clicking on the screen that has the
Yep.
slide and then
Yeah.
sharing it?
Yep, I do. I'm clicking on it. Anyways, okay, so you know what? Maybe then that's fine. If it works later, that's fine. I'll just talk about
Yeah,
things. Yeah, I don't know why
there you go.
it was working before. So
Yeah, it was working. But let's talk about key nutrients.
yeah, okay. So if you think about what our brain is made out of, okay, and or just nutritionally speaking. So first of all, 75 to 80% of total weight is actually water. So, you might have read a book like You're Not Hungry, You're Thirsty, something like that, right? So I'll often find that a lot of people suffer from various mental health symptoms just simply because they're not properly hydrated.
Hydrated.
Yeah, like as simple as that. I mean, this is amazing um, how few people actually think about proper hydration on a regular basis. Then think about your dry weight of your brain. 60% is fat. 60%, right? That would be your phospholipids. There will be cholesterol, the myelin sheath. All of this is fat. So I'm really not sure what all this popular advice for the past, I don't know how many decades we've had. Stay away from saturated fat, stay away from cholesterol, stay away from fat. Everything was fat free. Um, I was actually at the restaurant a couple of days ago and I was served margarine. I'm like, is this butter? And like, no, this is margarine. They're still stuck in the 60s, I think. They don't have butter. 60% is fat. And it's important to understand it's not only the quantity of fat, but the quality of fat we're getting. But also, a lot of people, unfortunately, are not paying attention to their liver, their gallbladder, because you can try and eat all the fat you want, but you might not be able to actually efficiently process and absorb it. Now, 10% of our brain is proteins, right? So why is it important? Most of your neurotransmitters and precursors for neurotransmitters will be made from protein, enzymes, transporters. All of this is needed so your actually brain cells can communicate, right? A lot of people are very deficient in protein. Even I get a lot of clients who already eat healthy and they come to me with this bunch of like green salads they're eating, which is great. But when I start counting their protein intake for the day, I'm like, okay, well, where's your protein, right? Then we need minerals, all kinds of minerals. I actually have a slide. Hopefully, I can share it to show exactly the place for minerals. And there we need zinc, we need magnesium, even iron. A lot of other minerals are very important. And also, when we talk about nutrition, there's nutrients and there is anti-nutrients. Why is it important? Because nutrients is what gives you energy, what gives you building blocks that actually helps you build yourself and including your brain. And then there's anti-nutrients. Not only they don't give you anything important or useful, but actually take away. They take away the energy it takes to digest them, and they didn't give you any of that good stuff. They increase inflammation, which depletes your resources, your innate resources, right? To
Hmm.
deal with that. So if you think about it, when we talk about nutrition, it's not only about what you give, but also what you don't, because if you do, you're actually not going to be getting the full extent of benefits from your proper nutrition. Which brings me to another very important overlooked cause that people are not thinking about it. They can eat all they want, but their digestion needs to be on top, right? Because again, you can eat all the protein you want, you can eat the fat, you can try and get your minerals from your veggies. But if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid, if your pancreatic enzymes suffer from pancreatic enzyme insufficiency, if your gallbladder, your bile quality basically is not optimal, you're still going to be deficient in everything I've just mentioned. So yeah, something like that.
So, can you give us an idea of what are some of the um, frequently experienced conditions that people experience when they are lacking in those very basic things that you're talking about that we need?
Okay.
Um,
Let
could
me
you
try,
talk?
and I'll try and maybe again see if that helps. Like, does it?
There you go. We're good.
Thanks.
Yay.
Yay, it's working. Okay, perfect. We've got connection. Wonderful. So everybody sees my slide, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So yes, I'm just going to show you specific conditions and nutrient deficiencies associated with them. But I just wanted, so this is what I was talking about, the brain function, right? Neurotransmitters, you need proper energy. And then your mental health and your cognitive health are using the same brain. So if any of that foundational biology you see on the top, so your nutrients, so amino acids would be your protein, omega-3, which is your fats, minerals. If you are not addressing your blood sugar stability and insulin resistance, if you're not working on your digestion and your microbiome, because we know all disease begins in the gut. If you're not addressing your hormones, thyroid, sex hormones, stress hormones, if you're not working on maintaining proper circadian rhythm, mitochondria for brain energy production, inflammation and toxins, these are your anti-nutrients. So this is exactly what I'm saying. So your brain health is really a formula of all of this working in sync, and then this portion being as minimal as possible. So speaking about specific, well, actually, here are a couple of slides that I meant to show while I was talking. Here, for example, an AZ, you might have seen this slide before. So basically, to create your happiness neurotransmitter serotonin, you really need to start with tryptophan, which is an amino acid, right? So hopefully you're getting enough protein, and usually animal protein, most, rich in most amino acids that are easily bioavailable. Then guess what? You need folate, right? For it to become a precursor 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan, right? So if you're not getting folate, or if you have some sort of MTHFR mutations, whatnot, you're already at disadvantage. Then guess what? If you don't have vitamin B6, you will not produce serotonin. Okay, but then for serotonin to become melatonin, you need zinc, magnesium, folate, B12. So if you're missing these nutrients, might not be happy, and then you're not going to sleep, and then you're going to be even less happy because then you enter this vicious circle of deficiencies. That's one example. And then another example is a dopamine synthesis. Look at this. So dopamine is our motivation, right? If you want to succeed in whatever you do in life, you really need that motivation, that's stimulant to achieve. And it starts with, again, with an amino acid, so which requires proper protein intake and digestion. But look at all these cofactors right here. So in order to make tyrosine, which will down the road become dopamine, and hopefully will proper become very important acute stress hormones, which is norepinephrine, epinephrine. Look at all these cofactors that you need: vitamin C, copper, SAMI, magnesium, B6 active form, omega-3, vitamin D. So I can say, okay, if you're deficient in any of this, there are a lot of processes that will go wrong in the body. So if you're guys interested, I can always email this to you later. So each amino acid and their cofactors and the role, and then the food sources you actually need to be getting on a regular basis. We go over this in our course in a more detailed version. And then again, all these brain nutrients that you see on the left, their key role in specifically mental and cognitive health, and top food sources. So if you're lacking any of this, so hopefully I can show you quickly here. So these are from different studies, and in my course I have the links and all of that. So basically, if somebody has what looks like attention deficit disorder, very often it is omega-3 fatty acids, zinc, iron, and ferritin needs to be tested as well, because unfortunately our health system really, OHIP saves the money, doesn't test ferritin for people. Magnesium, vitamin D, B vitamins, all of them, but specifically B9, B12, B6, B2, amino acids, and choline. They're all, people with ADHD have those deficiencies, and that I learned a long time ago when my son was diagnosed with ADHD. So I knew that was missing. And when we corrected the diet, it was very helpful. Another, for example, anxiety. This is all based on studies, guys. Magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin D, omega-3, zinc, iron, selenium, antioxidants, because we always talk about oxidative stress. And unfortunately, it can lead to symptoms of anxiety, unexplained generalized anxiety. Another, depression, right? There's a lot of research on depression. If you ever have time, just go on PubMed or even Google and just type mental health and nutritional deficiencies. Honestly, it's what really makes me mad is that there's so much research that has been done, and not just lately, for the past 20, 30 years, that shows the connection between diet, deficiencies, and mental health symptoms. And yet here we are still in a world where if you complain of, I can't sleep, I feel sad, you get offered an antidepressant. So I don't understand why the research is there, but we don't take the next step. Anyways, omega-3, B vitamins, vitamin D, magnesium, zinc, iron, tryptophan, tyrosine, selenium, antioxidants, iodine, and frankly, we need all of all of the macro and micronutrients and antioxidants, ideally. So it's not just any specific ones, but again, it's amazing how much research is out there.
Okay, so now we know what the major nutrients are that support the brain, what deficiencies are causing potentially the brain to not function properly. Can we move into emotional effects of nutrition and nutrition deficiencies? And again, you already started with depression. But you mentioned a little bit about anxiety. You mentioned a little bit earlier. I mean, even things like we know about separation anxiety when pregnant women, give birth to their child, and then after birth, there is a hormonal change that goes on, and then the shift in the hormonal balances create a change emotionally. Could you talk more about the effect of nutrition on hormones and the effect of that on our emotions?
Okay, well, we are hormonal beings, okay? And it's important to understand that hormones are messengers, okay? They're messengers, and that's their only job, is to basically help systems and tissue communicate. So obviously, during the periods of hormonal changes, like whether it be puberty or menopause or, postpartum, there's a lot of hormones, like hormones are adjusting, okay? So it's very common, unfortunately, to experience emotional disturbance. Okay. So again, I wouldn't say like there's a specific nutrient that's responsible for emotional disturbance, but we have to understand that the messenger system will work properly if our underlying systems are in balance. Okay, that's very important to understand. Okay, because the messengers cannot send the wrong message if our original system is balanced and not lacking nutrients. So the same would go, it's pretty much the same nutrients that I've talked about are very important. But when we talk about hormones, we need to talk about the liver. Okay, because we know that, especially when it comes to sex hormones, because this is where they are metabolized, they're processed, and then if there's anything, if your liver detox stages, phase one, phase two, or even not liver, but the gut phase three is impaired, because now we know a lot about the connection between dysbiosis and certain type of bacteria in the gut that will make your hormonal, war, or what, how to describe that situation when you're not at peace hormonally, that will make it worse, right? So it's all connected. So I would say here, for anybody who is going through hormonal changes, and men included actually, because I know andropause is very much underestimated. And yeah, I should write an article on andropause, because a lot of men need support too, not just women. Like, because I work with menopausal women a lot, but so yeah. So what we want to do is pretty much applies to our emotions as well. So we need proper balance of macronutrients, the protein, the fat, water. So we really want to make sure that our carbs, remember, they can be good or bad carbs, because blood sugar imbalances is the direct result of simple, quick burning carbs over abundance in the diet and lack of fiber. I think I showed you the study about the connection between the fiber intake and things like suicide. We're going to talk about it later, right? So once you get those in place and you're making sure that you're keeping your your gut, your liver functioning properly, and then you are not giving those anti-nutrients to ensure that your body is basically going into this state of alarm, right? Because hormones are basically, they're trying to bring you back to homeostasis. And the more you keep yourself in homeostasis, the better. And obviously, impact of stress. Now, that's a whole different topic, because that's something that I know not from the books. I am an extreme trauma survivor, where I had to basically recover myself from a very traumatic event where I barely survived. And that was the reason actually I put together the program, the one I did, because that emotional roller coaster I went through, that hormonal disturbance that was associated with that, they literally left me wondering, like, how do people survive this kind of events when all you can do is just basically cannot get out of bed, and you just can't even go and eat that avocado that like, I think Carol mentioned that, right? Like, what if you want to do something that you don't want to do, you don't need to do, but you don't want to do what you need to do to get better, right? So I find that in those cases, and ironically, when you're emotionally unstable for whatever objective reasons, okay, objective reasons, nutrition is pretty much the only thing that can be under your control. The whole world can be falling apart. You might have, I don't know, wars, no money, whatnot. But you can make that choice. Okay, I have to get up from bed. I have to eat. Now, this is my choice. What is it that I'm going to give you my body now? I know I might be craving that, but I know that this is a choice you make. You try and make as many positive choices, little choices, because this is really the only thing that is definitely under your control in all circumstances. Okay, and the more, I think, the reason I develop a program and I educate people is that the more you know why. Okay, not because it's good for you or bad for you, but why exactly? Why you look at those mechanisms, then you will be more motivated to say, okay, yeah, I would rather eat chips, not avocado, but I know right now, for the sake of my kids, for the sake of what I really need to nourish my brain, and I need to nourish my body so I can feel better mentally. You make those choices. And I think this is where education programs like that, they're very powerful.
You touched on briefly gut biome. Could we talk about that? Because if our gut biome is not balanced and we're not taking care of that, we could be eating the best foods in the world and they're not going to be going to where they're supposed to go. And I'm asking that. I recently had surgery and had to have a lot of antibiotics. And after the antibiotics were done, my entire digestive system, my energy, everything was shot. And I've had to work hard now on rebuilding the biome, but I know that it not only affects your digestion, but it affects everything.
Yep.
Could you talk about the gut biome, its importance, how it's affected, and how we can build it up healthy again?
Yeah, for sure. I used to give school talks to kids on nutrition, and I always will have a slide with you know, gut buddies and gut buddies. Okay, and kids like that, and I think it's actually good for the adults as well to understand whatever you eat, it's not for you for the most part. It is for every microbe that lives inside of you. Okay. And the cravings you're going to experience are very much influenced by what lives inside of your gut. Okay. This is why I'm saying people come to me say, well, I really need sugar. How do I get off sugar? Well, maybe it's not about the willpower. Okay. It's about trying to get off the yeast in the body so you actually don't crave sugar as much, right? So you're right. Our gut microbiome, and not only gut microbiome, actually, we actually have microbiome in every single, everywhere in our body, on our skin, but the gut microbiome, you're right, is a lot of research has been conducted in the past many years. And even when I just started my journey into nutrition like 15 years ago, I literally was amazed at the power of microbes. Okay, like literally the first day when I realized that they're important is when I had my 8-week old that pediatrician couldn't fix an issue of, and I just gave probiotics and the issue went away. I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. Like, I need to learn that myself because obviously our Canadian health system is not really aware of these simple strategies. But anyways, so you're right. We know that microbiota that lives, let's say, in our gut, you've heard that serotonin is produced there, right? They help produce serotonin. They help us produce certain micronutrients like vitamin K and B vitamins. So obviously, all of this you've seen that's all important towards our gut, our brain health. Now we know that through the vagus nerve that connects the gut and the brain, there's a lot of communication happening, and actually 80% of the impulses are going towards the brain from the gut, and only 20% go back.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So obviously, whoever is communicating with your brain has some power as to how
Yeah.
you feel, right?
I know for a fact that I have gut biome that call up Domino's in the middle of the night and cause me to crave pizza and carbs and breadsticks, and they're constantly calling Domino's. So I'm fully aware that this is true and this is real. That
Yeah,
we become the effect of what's going on inside of us if it's not balanced.
right.
So yeah, yeah,
But again, this is why I find a lot of clients that I work with, they're really not aware of the steps they need to take after they've taken antibiotics. They all think, okay, well, I took some kefir, or I took some probiotics. Okay, well, they didn't even probably get a chance to attach to your inflamed yeast-ridden gut lining. Like it was just an expensive supplement you took, right? So you really need, like, we all need to be taught what to do if we need to take antibiotics, because it does happen. I mean, certain conditions do require that can be life-saving, but then we need to restore the balance. And yeah, so we know that in certain hospitals they treat autism with microbiome, like the fecal transplant, right? That's a known thing. I know that kind of in touch with the autistic community. So it's a thing. I mean, it's a medical intervention. So we definitely know that there's definitely connection. Now, which kind of bacteria is responsible for what? This is the research that's being conducted right now. And if you look at most probiotic producer companies, they already make specific strains for specific conditions. So I think we're going to learn more, but it's very safe to say that working on your gut should be number two, number one, depending. Like you need the good nutrition, but then you need to make sure that you heal the gut as your intestinal lining, because you really need to create a very hospitable environment for your guts, for your gut microbes, so they can actually attach to your mucosal lining, start producing those nice metabolites. So I don't know, bifidobacteria, bifidom are important, lactobacillus are very important. We know that there's this connection well, there's a connection between the serotonin production and your mood and your IBS, right? That's a very common thing I see in my clients when they come and they have mental health issues. They either have constipation or diarrhea or mix. So that's very common. So definitely, there are good tests right now, and they're not cheap, but they're good, where you can actually have a whole, basically a list of what lives in your gut. Yeah, so if you have the means to do so, I recommend that you do one of those testing available in Canada and in the US.
Okay. What are some of the sources of healthy gut bacteria, gut biome, intestinal flora? What are some of the things that you do with your clients to help them restore and attain a healthy gut biome?
Yeah. Well, I always say the health of a family starts with the mother. Why you go? The best source would be the mother's microbiome that a baby ideally should pick up on the way out. However, unfortunately, a lot of babies are C-section and a lot of mothers are not eating properly and they have dysbiosis, so they have nothing to really give. Not much beneficial stuff to give to the babies. So, and yes, you're right. Antibiotics, unfortunately, are very common in our culture. Sometimes justified, sometimes not at all. I just have like a person that has been on 3 rounds of antibiotics. It turns out for no reason, right? So what do you do? So obviously, we're going to get to the actually microbiome part of it. You need to, well, think about what happens when you take antibiotics, right? It's like a nuclear bomb. It just explodes and it kills everything, good, bad, everything, except for yeast. Okay? So yeast is like, hey, look, I have no competition now. I'm just gonna go and
So yeast is like the cockroach of microbiome.
I think yeast. I think yeast is important. It's
It'll
important.
survive nuclear bombs.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what it is. Yeah. So yeast starts growing and taking over the real estate in your gut. And if you think about it, if you ever had fungus even on the skin, it actually damages your skin. And your gut lining is your second skin. Okay, they say gut is your second brain, although people say it's probably your first brain. But anyways, your second skin in the gut gets compromised. This is how you get the leaky gut. This is how you get your immune activation. This is how your body sort of is trying to basically compensate, but it's hard. So now what you need to do is really, especially for people on antibiotics or right after, this is the time when even if you have cravings, you really have to kind of remember, so I'm not feeding myself, I'm feeding my yeast right now with this piece of like cake or chocolate, okay? Because right now that's the only thing that's left. So I think that's important for them to understand. And then you probably won't want to feed the bad guy, right? So then you start with some sort of gut healing supplements. I don't know, it can be anything from L-glutamine, zinc, L-carnosine, omega-3s, and antioxidants like vitamin A and vitamin C. All of these are great. Any kind of demulcents like marshmallow, root, slippery elm, all of this stuff, the more the better. So then you might want to slowly introduce your probiotics. Now, they can come in either through food, which I find it's not enough, it's not fast enough after. So food, any culture has fermented foods, right? I mean, the easiest one would be sauerkraut, kefir, unsweetened yogurt, kimchi, fermented soy, if you can tolerate that. I mean, that's not for everybody. So anything fermented is great. But again, after antibiotic, I say you need like a proper supplement, multi-strain, probably at least 25 billion potency, to try and then you monitor the symptoms, because some people, unfortunately, it's not one size fits all. You kind of have to figure out what you need, because some people are so inflamed and so has been so damaged by an antibiotic therapy that they require nervous system regulation. Because again, I did have a client who developed celiac after antibiotics, and then it would lead to panic attacks, right, and anxiety. So really, it should be customized. But I think it's basically a combination of proper nutrients. Remember, your gut bacteria need to eat, so it's good fiber, it's resistant starch, So it is everything. So like anything from like asparagus and leeks and onions and garlic, if you can tolerate, because a lot of people have IBS issues after that. You can definitely supplement with fiber again, but that has to be sort of chosen for the right person, the right form, because not everybody can tolerate. But you need to basically feed the good guys that you're taking, because if you continue with eating Domino's pizza and just taking probiotics, they have no food. Yeah.
Okay. I think at this point we're at the point where we like to take questions. So we're going to take questions for folks who have joined us on Zoom. You get first shot at asking your questions, and then I will have the folks who are, and there's quite a few folks right now on Facebook, they can put their questions in the comment section, and I will ask those questions. So we'll start out. You folks are experienced Zoom users, so if you raise your golden hand, press that little button there. That's the bottom on Zoom that says react. There's a little heart there, and then you click on the raise the hand and raise your hand, and love to hear your questions for Olga. So I asked a bunch of questions already. It's your turn. John, first, welcome to the show, John. And what is your question?
So my stomach has been described as, or my body as a very delicate personal ecosystem.
Hmm.
So I am intolerant of gluten, dairy, um, the common things. And the more I learn, the more I'm probably just, other than the dairy, I'm probably just glyphosate and GMO intolerant. Um, what what can I do to offset that? So I do strictly avoid um, gluten and dairy. But what else can I do to support my body in the damage that has been done, um, by our uh, crappy food system?
Okay. All right. So I'll try to answer your question, but keep in mind that without getting more information about your specific situation, it's going to be fairly general. But my question is, can I ask you a question? Like, John, sorry, don't just, yeah. So when did that start? Because that's important. And what was the trigger? Because you have always to identify what was the trigger beyond those symptoms you developed, if you don't mind sharing,
Yeah,
because
no.
help me give you
So
a better answer.
So I discovered that I was intolerant of gluten in 2007 as a result of taking the ALCAT blood test. But prior to that, I had a chronic postnasal drip induced cough that went away after 7 days of not having gluten. Um, but I didn't, there wasn't at a particular event where I'm like, huh, I don't feel well. Um, so that I can't answer.
Okay. All right. So, first and foremost, let me just explain one thing. So, gluten can be very dangerous and actually dangerous to a lot of people if eaten not in moderation. And unfortunately, the standard American diet or Canadian diet is very sort of based on gluten. You get those bagels in the morning, sandwich at lunch, and pizza at night. So, yes, that's too much. And also, we have to understand that the wheat that we guys have here in North America is not the real wheat that people have across the world. So I totally agree that gluten can be very problematic for a lot of people. And having said that, I'm not completely anti-gluten. I'll tell you why in a second, because like if you stopped eating it, yeah, you should never try and reintroduce it at this point because you will have reaction. However, in small quantities, people who don't want to develop an non-existing sensitivity, they shouldn't be taking gluten off. This is my sort of like I don't demonize um, gluten by itself. I demonize the diet that's full of it so much that actually can cause persistent damage. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Now, So there is another thing that unfortunately a lot of people are very so intolerant to. So you have to, well, like intolerant or sensitive. By the way, you should differentiate between intolerance and sensitivity, right? So a lot of people are lactose intolerant because they don't produce enough lactase, but then a lot of people are sensitive just because they are either overeating that food, okay? Because this is what food sensitivity is. It's not the food that you should never be touching. It's what your body right now is not sure what to do with this food because maybe you're over consuming it, okay? So, and dairy can be in both categories, right? Because there's definitely casein from the A1 carbs and whatnot, and there's this lactose that's a problem for many people. So since you haven't eaten those in a long time, I would never recommend you in any shape or form or introducing them. However, when you say, how do you fix the body? But you said that a lot of symptoms went away, right? So it depends on the symptoms you're experiencing. That would kind of inform what needs to be done. But in general, basically the steps for any healthy digestion are as follows. Okay, so first of all, again, I'll start with proper hydration, because if you're not hydrating your body to produce your digestive juices, really your body will be struggling to deal with whatever, and then a proper meal hygiene culture, because again, I find a lot of people are kind of either eating on the go, or they're eating in front of the computer, or they're not chewing properly. This is very important. This is how we develop those sensitivities in the first place, because if our brain is not registering that the food is coming and is not instructing all our our stomach to secrete our hydrochloric acid, for our liver to produce bile, and for gallbladder to squirt bile, and so forth. So that's important. So all these are important. Now, if you are experiencing any digestive symptoms, like heartburn, all that, there's specific steps. So otherwise, what you want to do a couple times a year, just as prevention, if that's what you mean, as prevention. So you want to do the gut healing. So anything that I mentioned before, any demulcents, aloe vera, slippery elm, DGL, all of this is like a band-aid for inflamed lining, right? So chewing well or taking digestive enzymes, depending on your age and other factors, because for some people they should and some people shouldn't. That will help, because if you're not digesting properly, it will further damage your small intestine, where absorption is happening. And then if you develop leaky gut, you will develop other sensitivities, right? So making sure that you work on bile quality. It has to be fluid enough. It has to be good quality. So taking things like lecithin, if you can, either from food or from supplements, taurine, things like any kind of bile, helping like dandelion, milk thistle, all of this stuff. So that will prevent certain things. I mean, by prevent, I mean will optimize your fat digestion and absorption, right? And then, yeah, so that should be as preventative. That's a very good thing to do for everybody, just not to develop new sensitivities. But in general, we have to understand, usually sensitivities happen not because food is bad, because I truly believe if with healthy digestion, we can digest a rusty nail. We should be able to. They should be able to, okay? But we can't, because we're stressed. We're not, producing all of that. So anyway, so not to develop other sensitivities. Yeah, so it's proper meal hygiene, chewing and taking care of all your digestive juices, so you can deal with whatever you're eating, and not overeating anything, because if you eat everything every day for the rest of your life, you might develop sensitivity. I hope I answered your question, but I would be able to, like, if I had more information, it would be more specific.
And we'll talk about
you.
some of the ways people can get in touch with you, Olga, to get you the information that you need to help them. When we're through with the questions, we'll move to the services that you provide and other questions. Thank you, John. Who would like to be next?
If I maybe just can mention one thing that we didn't talk about,
Sure.
the toxicity in its connection to mental health, those anti-nutrients, because there are a lot of studies, again, I don't know if I can quickly find them, but if not, I'll just mention there are a lot of studies that show the connection between specific so endocrine disrupting chemicals like PBA, all of this stuff, like plastic. There's like literally studies that will show the connection between lead and mercury that unfortunately are pretty much everywhere, very easily, like fish or, paint or whatnot. So, and they're definitely linked to like ADHD and depression. So a lot of studies like that. And when somebody comes to me and says like, okay, well, how do I fix my health? I don't only tell them what to eat and how to digest, but also take away all the stress that your system is exposed to, right? Because that way you're kind of not being able to divert all your energy towards healing because you're trying to get rid of those chemicals that actually have propensity and they love fat. Like they actually store heavy metals are stored in fat, right? And all these plastics, they love fat. The endocrine disruptors, yes, but our brain is fat, our nervous system is fat, right? So it's amazing how much toxicity can disrupt our mental, cognitive, and emotional well-being. Yeah, but thank you for John for bringing up the glyphosate. For sure, it's one of the things that actually there was a study on glyphosate and mental health. Yeah.
Great. Okay, who's next? Who's next that has a question? And also, for you folks on Facebook, if you have a question, go ahead, put it in the comment, and I will ask Olga.
Either I explained everything so well,
See,
or I confuse
you
people.
are so good. You are so good, Olga. Here we go. Nancy. Nancy, welcome to the show. And what's your question?
Thank you. Well, I have lots, but I'm going to start with a simple, I say simple one. Hydration. I've heard so many different things about hydration and about water and I've been hearing it a lot more lately, so I'm sort of paying more attention to it just personally. And I'm wondering, there are like filters you get. There's the tap water, there's the water in the plastic things. I'm wondering how to know which water to drink. And it sounds kind of silly, but I'm a little bit confused by it actually.
Yeah, that's that question I get all the time, and I don't like that question. You know why? Because I actually don't have a good answer for you. I guess good enough of an answer. I'll tell you what I think. Because there are a lot, water market is very competitive. There are a lot of different companies that will try to charge you a lot of money for the best water on the market. So I'm not going to mention any brands, but I'm just saying that there's pros and cons to pretty much every water solution out there. Okay, for that, for some it's price, for some it's like reverse osmosis is like, it's so good that it gets rid of all the good stuff, the minerals you have to sort of reintroduce. Definitely, they're just like, even Costco now has alkalized water, but it's in plastics, right? Now, so there's plus and minus for every single water you can find. So I personally think, okay, in terms of how much you need to drink, that's again something personal because some people who exercise a lot or live in hotter climates, they will obviously have a higher demand. But in general, so our physiological solution for the blood is usually 30 milliliters per kilogram of body weight. So this is like sort of your average water intake, 30 milliliters per kilogram. So if you're like 50 kilograms, you will have a liter and a half. That's your very safe amount of water that you need, and you're not going to overdo it because again, while most people don't get enough, some people overdo it. I've seen clients who drink like 4 liters a day, and I don't know if it's helping because you can create an electrolyte imbalance the other way. So anyways, if you are calculating 30 milliliters per your body weight, this is your standard, um, you know, uh, amount that you can get every day. Now, the important thing is how you drink water. And I think a lot of people are confused about how to drink it. So you never drink like a glass at a time, except for maybe in the morning when you just woke up and you want to sort of replenish your stores and then get this digestion going. So having a warm water in the morning is great on so many levels. But then for the rest of the amount of water, you want to drink it not with food and not with ice, but you want to have like room temperature, even warm water throughout between the meals, because this is how you actually hydrate well. If you drink before the meals, but not with the meals necessarily a lot and not right after the meals, but keeping hydrated in between. That will, by the way, keep you not hungry between your meals. And that way you will avoid desire to snack and get chips or whatnot. So which is very important. Now, in terms of what kind of water, again, the golden standard is reverse osmosis with minerals. It's not cheap, and it requires, 2 action steps. So plastic is definitely bad. Like I would never say even the best water in plastic becomes not such a good water. So see what you can do in terms of your budget. There are different filters on the market, and the problem with those filters is that once you think they're good, then something comes up, they're not good. So you have to be like an engineer, and so you kind of have to trust the manufacturer, right? I know Berkey was big one day, but then it turned out it wasn't as, anyways, I can't tell you the exact brand if that's what you're asking me. But I know that getting enough water is more important than not getting enough because you're afraid to drink water because, tap water is bad and this is plastic and whatnot. So it's good to have some basic filter. I know that there's a company, I think, I'm not saying it's the best one, but what I know is that Centivia, I think, has a glass filter now, if you're interested. So it filters pretty good level of, pollutants. And then even if you don't have a filter, because not everybody can afford a filter, that's another thing. So what a lot of people do if they want to improve quality of water, right? Some people have to boil their tap water because while we're glad to believe it's all good, it really depends on where you live and what kind of pipes are there and how old they are and all of that. So some people boil water. Some people have water from tap just sitting there for 48 hours just so that chlorine evaporates and then all the bad stuff will go to the bottom, and then you kind of carefully get rid of everything but the bottom. So I can't really tell you, there's many different strategies, but the only thing I can tell you, hydration is important, and the cleaner you can get your water to be, the best. Yeah. Adding electrolytes is good too, if you can. This is cheap. You can add electrolytes to your water, always helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Nancy.
Carol.
So 2 things. Did you just say 30 milliliters
Per
per
kilogram.
kilogram?
Per kilogram, yeah.
Milliliters per kilogram. And I was sort of curious about what you were talking about, the anti-nutrients. Did you give us examples of those? Like, so in other words, when we're eating them, they're taking away or they're stopping the absorption of the minerals or something.
Okay, let's see if I can quickly find any slide just so that, but I mean, I already mentioned a couple. I don't know, tell me if you see, do you see my slide?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, this is just from one of my lessons on my academy part. So here, so heavy metals, glyphosate, mold, that's not food anti-nutrients. We're going to talk about the like food specific ones. So okay, so anything that causes oxidative stress, anything that causes mitochondrial dysfunction. So basically, an anti-nutrient is anything that has detrimental effect on the processes in the body. So if we talk about the like say pollutants, yeah, here's a systematic review of various pollutants, and look at this. So I consider all of this that are listed here an anti-nutrient. Yes, you're not getting it through food, but you're getting it through the air, through the skin, through your kitchen where you cook with certain things, right? And this is all from different studies. So I will show you what anxiety might be related to. So what cognitive impairment can be sort of, again, there's correlation. Again, we cannot say that caused that, but we'll talk about there's correlation between all of that. So I call this anti-nutrients. Then there's definitely, if you talk about food anti-nutrients, there's tons, okay? I have another slide, I'm just gonna look for it, but basically sugar obviously is an anti-nutrient. Why? Well, because yeah, it may give you some energy, but it takes away in forms of causing inflammation, in terms of making you more insulin resistant every time you overdo sugar, right? And then, so there's like insulin resistance and mental health. Actually, there are studies that will show that there's connection, and in diabetics, mental health is a huge problem. So then there's definitely things like, well, glyphosate, like John mentioned. What else? Anything that is basically causing free radical damage. Even food that has been like rancid oils. Okay, here. It's like, I think if people only started doing three things, basically having enough clean water, getting rid of rancid oils, and sleeping well, a lot of mental health would go away right there, right? Because when we talk about the fats, I talk like a whole module on fats. You think about it, if your brain is 60% fat, if fats are needed for your myelin sheath, for your like basically nerves working properly, and all the fats you supply your body are in the forms of like canola oil, vegetable oil. I don't even know what they are, haven't never had them. Well, guess what? Like, what do you expect? Your building will depend on the quality of the bricks you use, right? So that's one of the most powerful anti-nutrients, right? Yeah, so an anti-nutrient is really anything that either just doesn't give you anything but takes energy to digest, or directly causes you to become unhealthier.
Like it's like eating a real food, like eating walnuts versus well, anything that's like a real food.
Yeah, I always say cook at home, and I mean, hopefully you don't use like bad cookware, but like Teflon or anything. But even if you're cooking at home, you already made a huge step towards total body health, because we're so used to be on the run and buying those. Like even if you're buying from healthy foods, okay, you have to understand like this is a business, they will save money, and most likely they'll be using canola oil and all these cheap oils, right? Because I mean that's a business, they're not there to make you healthier, they're there to make money. So every time you kind of control the nutrients, the quality of nutrients that go into building your brain and your nervous system, yeah, you definitely will see the reward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Carol. That was a good question.
Yep. But just like I said, yeah, like if you ever go to my site, like I have a module by module explanation, everything that needs to be addressed. If you really want to make sure that you've done everything you could to improve your mental and cognitive health. Again, they're connected, because you can't have if you're like if you can't think properly, right, you can't learn, you can't achieve. If chances are you're not going to be like a very happy person, and vice versa, right? If you're not, like if you're anxious and stuff, you can't really, your memory might not be in the top shape, right? So they're connected.
Any other questions?
The slide up, so maybe people look at the slide, and because I think that kind of covers like on a very high level everything I talk about like in a very detail in my course. But yeah, like this is maybe people will have more questions if they see that, or that maybe even they're kind of the same, just different graphics.
Well, you mentioned your course, and also earlier you mentioned the importance of testing to find what are the underlying factors contributing to some of the nutritional deficiencies that somebody might be experiencing. If you could unshare, I'm going to share a slide that has your information on it, and then let's talk about what exactly you do with clients and how that all works. And then I want to talk about your academy. So if you can see the screen there, folks, I'm going to talk about two different things. First, if you want to connect with Olga, if you go to her website, HappyNutrition.CA, not .com, but .ca, you'll be able to connect directly with her and be able to undergo the types of little test kits and things that she'll use to be able to really hone in on what exactly is going on in your body and what are the deficiencies, what are the things that are going on that are sabotaging, proper balance. So write that down, Happy Nutrition. That's easy to remember, HappyNutrition.CA. And I'm actually going to go there. Let me see here.
So while you're looking for it, just to clarify for those who might not be familiar with the word functional nutrition and integrative nutrition, I'll just briefly mention that. Like nutrition historically has really meant just that, like macronutrients, calories, all of that, right? But we know that let food be thy medicine, right? And there's truth to that because nutrition is the true preventative medicine. Like nutrition, again, in a larger scale, everything that you're exposing your body to. And so functional nutrition is really looking to, first of all, identify the root cause of your imbalance, because two people with constipation might have like totally different reasons for their constipation, right? Or for even like anxiety or for depression. And also we're trying to find what the root causes are. I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes, it requires multiple testing. Sometimes it's very obvious. Somebody comes to me with a diet that, I was like, okay, let's just try getting rid of that. And, you're right. Like John said, my sinus infection went away or whatnot, right? Like a postnasal drip. Yeah, people can experience that quite fast just by obvious changes, but some people might require certain testing to identify whether it be stool testing or, I don't know, hair testing for heavy metals, like depending on what the issues are and what testing might be relevant in this particular case, because I'm always very mindful of a person's budget, because, testing is there not for its own sake. It just needs to help us inform how we can help, right? But also, functional nutrition restores the function. That's important to understand. It's the input that you give your body to restore the function of your liver, the function of your brain, the function of your gut. Okay. So, and again, there's no one solution. Like when, how do you fix that? Well, I don't know, because I think Hippocrates said that, don't tell me about the disease the person has, tell me about the person who has the disease, right? So I need to know exactly what's happening with you in your life to figure out what might be off balance in your case. Yeah, so that's if you scroll down, there's like there's a bit of yeah, if you can keep scrolling, there's some tests that we use. So yeah, I do live sell for those who like it. And again, it's not diagnostic, but it helps for screening and it helps me ask intelligent questions, more informed questions. So definitely hair mineral analysis has been a great tool because it's not very expensive, but yet it produces good screening of your mineral and deficiencies, because we remember that minerals and heavy metals are like twins, but one is the evil one is the good one, right? So they are structurally very similar. And if we're not getting enough minerals, our body will use heavy metals for structural purposes. So it's a good screening one. Again, food intolerance I use sometimes. I don't know, you often use it right away, because once we heal the gut and once we fix the diet, a lot of intolerances might go away, actually, or sensitivities, I should say. Gut microbiome tests, yeah, I think it's something that's gaining popularity and it's becoming more actionable. Okay, so you will see what lives in your gut, and is it like, even if you have a lot of good bacteria, but you have the variety, right? Because if you need the variety in your microbiome, not just correlation between the bad ones and good ones, but so it's diversity that matters, stuff like that. So yeah, these are some of the testings I use. If a person can't for some reason do any of the testing, there's still other ways to evaluate what's happening with the body. I do metabolic balance, by the way, too, but again, that's more for people who want to lose weight. You know about that program. Yeah, so that's the clinical side. And yes, my office is whoever's in Toronto, it's Young and Steeles. But I consult online too. It's just for people who would like to come in person. It's there.
Let me go to your course site. Let me get over to that.
I developed my Health Academy, and specifically this particular course, because I felt like, okay, my clinical practice, it's good, but it's sometimes not enough. I mean, you meet with a person once in like a month and 2 months, you kind of advise them on what they need to do, but then they go home, they forget why they need to be doing that. They lack motivation. I'm not there with them to kind of see, are they, eating chips in the middle of the night? Like, so I need them to understand how their body works. And I always say, hey, look, stop thinking about your body as about your car. Your car breaks down, you take it to a mechanic. I mean, you don't need to know what magic they do there. It just works your car again, right? Nobody will fix your body but you, not even the best doctor, not the best nutritionist. If you are not in tune, if you can't really feel what's happening, and you're not sort of, you don't have a basic understanding of your physiology, well, you can't really help yourself, right? So I started Health Academy offline, but online, we're still building the courses, and the content is slowly moving there. But the functional nutrition for mental health, like if you want to click on it, that was developed specifically based both on my professional experience, but also, just like I said, my personal experience with trauma recovery, where addressing each of these symptoms, each of the systems that you're going to see, each module is basically an actionable step. I was able to survive, and without antidepressants and without a lot of other medications that I was basically kind of suggested I should do after all the trauma I've been through. So yeah, and again, I'm not saying that some people might need it. Again, I'm not saying don't do medication. I always say some people will need it, but you really need to address all of this. If you, Mike, if you scroll down, there are all the modules right there, hopefully. Yeah. So you can see we're talking about the amino acids, essential fatty acids. We're talking about the micronutrients. And then the thing about this course is not just I give you information, I give you the tools to evaluate your situation. So there's a questionnaire. I will tell you, okay, what am I might be deficient in? And then we're looking at the inflammatory burden, and we're looking at your blood sugar balance. We're looking at your hormonal balance through questionnaires. We're briefly addressing methylation because obviously that's more a genetic thing. So toxic overload, that's huge. You really need to go through your kitchen, through your skincare, work on your liver, all of that. So you might benefit greatly. Most of us actually do. Encouraging sleep is making sure that you're sleeping well is very important. And the last one is the mitochondria. Now, I love that module to the last because it kind of connects everything. Everything impacts everything here, and mitochondria will definitely be suffering if you're not getting good nutrition, if you're not getting good sleep, and if you're getting a lot of basically don't get enough antioxidants and all of that. So, and the good thing about it, it's not just a module you watch and that's it. You then meet weekly with me, either in a group setting or personally, just to work on that module for your situation. Like we evaluate your protein intake, we evaluate your fat intake, we evaluate all of that. So it's a very actionable course because I find that a lot of people would benefit from the kind of structured approach. And just like I said, it's a total body health system. So it's you would emerge healthier and happier at the same time. That's the intention of Happy Nutrition. Yeah. And I was going to say, actually, I just thought about it. So for if anybody is interested in the course, I can send you a coupon on $100 off and no HST. So that would end at 10 weeks, 10 weeks of in-person support once a week. So that literally just $50 per week. It's very affordable. Like that's another thing I understand. A lot of people, when I couldn't work, when I was going through my struggles, so I understand a lot of people who go through mental health issues, unfortunately, they can't work. So I also try to keep it very affordable.
Great. So we've got a better understanding of what you do one-on-one with your clients, what you do remotely with them as well, what you do with the course. We have time for a few more questions if anybody has any questions about Olga and her program. And if not, Olga, if you have any parting suggestions for folks, we would love to hear that. But we do have Carol has another question. Let's handle the questions first. And again, folks who are out on Facebook, last chance here. If you want to have Olga answer your question, write it in the chat right now in the comments. But right now, Carol, what's your question?
There was two things. So I was interested in the circadian rhythm because I noticed in my life I would quite often wake up when I was working, retired now, but I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. And then somebody said it's a circadian rhythm, don't worry about it. So I would, yeah, I would turn on the light and I would read and then I would go back to sleep or something like that. So I want to know what your thing is about that. Because I thought, okay, well then that's normal. Maybe you better answer that because the other question left me.
Okay, I'll answer that and you think about this other question. Okay, so I probably the person had the best intentions, but I don't think it was the best advice, okay? Because our circadian rhythms are very heavily light dependent, okay? So our cortisol gets stimulated by exposure to light. This is why I tell my clients when you wake up, first thing you have to do is find a source of light. I know we're in Canada, you cannot always see the sun, but you find a source of light because that will actually kick your cortisol up and you'll kind of start functioning better, hopefully. Now, if you do that in the middle of the night, even if it's just night light, even if it's just whatnot, you're already throwing off your proper cortisol rhythm, right? And we remember that cortisol and melatonin, they're like a seesaw, right? If one rises, the other one drops. So this is why, unfortunately, shift workers, like they're actually at a disadvantage because it's very hard to fix anything in their body while they're working those. That's an unfortunate thing. Like I have a few clients like that, and it's hard because they're more prone to inflammation and weight gain and mental health issues. So that's unfortunate. But you really need to basically yeah, like that's what we say, before you go to sleep, 3 hours before you go to sleep, all of this routine, right? Like, no light, no light even when you sleep. We say cover like all sources of light, just because when you sleep, your body needs to be properly informed by darkness to sleep. Now there are tests, like for those who struggle for no reason, they think it's no reason. There are tests like the Dutch test can look at your cortisol curve and you're like, the awakening response in the morning, all of that. Very often, though, I find, again, as a nutritionist, it's very often diet related. I see that a lot of people who wake up around 2 or 3 in the morning, they didn't eat properly throughout the day, and they either had big dinner before they went to sleep, or they had a dinner that didn't have slow carbs and good protein. Their blood sugar basically drops at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And for your adrenals, this is a 911 situation. Okay, they need to wake you up because like it's a crisis. You need to raise your blood sugar. So very often I find if you eat properly throughout the day and your dinner is conducive to balance blood sugar overnight, that should be addressed in many cases. Now, overstimulants like coffee and whatnot, that also needs to be reduced. So no, we're not supposed to wake up at 3 in the morning. Okay, if that's happening, you have to figure out why and fix that. That's all I can tell you. So, and that's important.
Don't turn on the light.
No, don't turn on the
Be a
light.
puzzle.
Yeah.
I did think of the other one. It was hormones because I couldn't understand how hormones like because it's not like a food or a nutrient.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's all, hormones are kind of like ideas to me in a way, you know. So when you say balance your hormones,
Mm-hmm.
that's just part of the whole package of proper nutrition, or
It is just like I said, hormones. And again, like I'll just briefly, just so that for the sake of time, so I don't, so like this is one of the basically when I talk about hormones, why they affect mental health, right? Because they're messengers, right? They're messengers.
oh, right.
Yeah. So, and what you give your body will basically inform that talk that's happening, right? So you will have connection between neurotransmitters and hormones. Now, when we talk about hormones, that also depends on, are you female, are you male? It depends on, are you perimenopausal, menopausal, because it's very specific, that would be a very specific solution. But you have to understand that there's studies that will show if your thyroid, for example, is not basically producing T3, T4, then you are more likely to have depression, anxiety, cognitive fog. If you are, now this is a whole, like, I can talk for like hours about adrenal dysfunction, because your cortisol will go up, then it will collapse, and your doctor will think it's normal, but you're really exhausted, like you're wired and tired. That definitely will result in things. And reproductive, if you're still like not menopausal, then definitely there's connection between all of this and depression. So there are like actually specific mechanism I go over, but you will see that there are cofactors. Okay, again, nutritionally speaking, there are cofactors for each hormone to work properly and for your
Right.
endocrine system to work properly. Okay, and these are
Yeah.
just
So messengers. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, but a solution will definitely be different for a particular person because
Thank you.
Great questions, Carol. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great questions.
Okay. Any last minute questions before we have Olga give her parting comments? I can't believe how quickly the hour and a half went, but a lot of great information, a lot of good questions. Last chance for you folks on Facebook. If not, if you just want to post them during the week, I will get whatever questions that you posed. I will send them over to Olga and get back to you on them. Any last minute questions before we have Olga give her last parting comments? No? Okay. Well, Olga, we are so grateful that you're with us tonight. I mean, I know we could talk for 100 hours about this and not cover everything, but any parting suggestions or ideas that you have for folks to at least take the next steps to feeding your brain, feeding your mind, feeding your emotions, feeding your body, and getting ourselves on the right track to be happier, healthier, and wiser.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, first of all, I didn't know I was going to have this is going to be totally impromptu, everything I'm going to say right now, but
Okay.
yeah, so first and foremost, thank you so much, guys. That was great questions. I truly appreciated the depth of you trying to understand what I'm talking about. But I guess if I had to share a wisdom, my wisdom about what's next, um, nutrition is not just food. Nutrition is a powerful tool you can use and you should use to be healthier. It's not just our right, but it's also a responsibility to become healthier, because remember, we don't live in isolation. There are people who we love, who love us, and we just, even if it's the last thing you want to do it for them. I mean, I remember thinking about my kids and thinking, okay, well, I don't care what I want, but I need to do it for them. So, and remember, nutrition is something you can do and you should do, and never stop learning and searching, because there's so much research, there's so much information coming out every day. So just be inquisitive and remember that that information can be life-saving. And also remember that mental health is not just about emotions, it's about the whole body health. And I keep underlining that was the point of this program, because I'm not teaching you just, okay, take this for that and that for that. No, you have to realize that in a lot of cases, a lot of mental health symptoms and cognitive symptoms and cognitive decline can be prevented, and we should be proactive about it, because nobody's getting younger, right? So we have to work very proactively so that we don't just live longer, but the quality of life at the end, because unfortunately my mom died of dementia, and I know how devastating that can be. And I think that my message would be, don't think that doctors will need to fix something in your body. You have the right and the responsibility to support your body and be on the lookout for information that will make you the best version of yourself. So, happy through nutrition is the final word.
Oh, great. And Olga, thank you again so much for being with us tonight, for sharing your wisdom and your years of experience. Folks, thank you for joining us in this episode. And as always, this will be on my Facebook page for at least a week or two. And then by Tuesday night, it's up on my website and my YouTube channel. Let me go to that here, just this parting slide here. And this is really important. All of our episodes are placed on my YouTube channel, and you can get to that by just simply going to MikeDeLucaPodcast.com. I encourage everybody, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That allows more people to see it and access that information. The information spreads and people go to it and more people come to it. So as you know, I do not sell anything. I do not sell anything on my program. I do not email you to try to sell you anything. this program and everything that I do in my life is to serve. It's to serve you. It's to serve people you know and love, your friends, your family. So if you share with them, if you found this episode to be helpful, send them over to MikeDeLucaPodcast.com. Let them watch the full episode, and then encourage them to get in touch with Olga to see, what she can do to help them. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for taking the time to invest in your health and well-being and your happiness. It makes me happy when you're healthier. It makes me happy when you're happier. I care so much about all of you. I care so much about the world. This is a little thing that I can do to contribute because I care. And if everybody would do a little something to take care of themselves a little better and to share information on things that have worked, so that, you could share that with people, maybe it'll help them. I would appreciate that. So if there aren't any other questions or comments before we go, Joan, did you have a question?
Just to thank you so much to both of you and Olga for this.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, Joan. Thanks for your support over the years. Yeah, you're one of our family, and we appreciate and love you. And love all of you who've tuned in, and all of you who are going to tune in this week, this month. Love you too. Appreciate you too. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Stay tuned on Facebook to see the next interview that we'll be having, next workshop that we'll be having. I'm excited. I try once a month to do a special workshop in addition to an interview. So stay posted on that, and have yourself a good evening, a healthy evening, a happy evening, a healthy and happy week, healthy and healthy life. Love you all, and take care of yourselves.